I've seen buyers walk away from the perfect home because of rules that don't even exist anymore. I've also seen strata owners miss out on opportunities they didn't even know they had. Look, the rules around strata living in BC have changed, and not in small ways. These updates have reshaped who can live where and what you can do with your unit, and even what rights you think you don't have. But here's the problem. Most people are still making decisions based on outdated information, and that disconnect, it leads to bad choices, missed chances, and some pretty painful surprises after they move in. So in today's video, we're gonna walk through 3 major changes that have quietly shifted the landscape of strata ownership and buying. I'll show you what's changed, what people keep getting wrong, and how to avoid falling into the same traps I keep seeing again and again. If that sounds good, let's get into it right now.
Only get one chance to buy or sell your next home. Let's get it right.
It's worth mentioning my name is Darren, a real estate professional based right here in the White Rock and South Surrey area. And I've been helping families just like yours buy and sell homes here all the way back since 2007. And since that time, I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of people, many of who found me right here on this very YouTube channel. So if you're seriously thinking about making a move and want some smart local advice with zero pressure, just real insight, there's a link in the description to book a time with me or my team. And together we'll help you make the right move with confidence. Okay, so you might have heard that a lot has changed with strata rules in the last couple of years, but most people don't realize just how much. One of my clients recently found a place they absolutely love. Perfect community, great layout, great price, but they avoided it for weeks. They didn't even want to go look at it. Why was that? Well, because they thought they wouldn't even be allowed to live there, all because of a rule they didn't fully understand. Once we sat down and I walked them through the actual legislation in the Strata Property Act, they realized that the rule had not only changed to the point where not only were they allowed to live there, but we ended up negotiating a crazy strong offer and getting them into the home that they've been dreaming about. That's how easy it is to miss an opportunity when you're working off outdated information. One of the biggest misconceptions I've seen lately, and one that almost costs these clients their home, has to do with age restrictions. This was a quiet, well-run 55+ building in South Surrey, and my clients absolutely loved it. But they initially backed off even wanting to go check it out because one of them was under the age of 55, and they had a 19-year-old adult son that was still living with them at home. They assumed that automatically ruled them out, and honestly, that's a really common assumption. Most people hear 55+ and think everyone in the household has to be over the age of 55, but that's not how it works anymore. As of late 2022, the only age restriction allowed under BC Strata Property Act is 55 years and over. That means no 19+, 35+, 45+. It just doesn't exist anymore. And even then, there are built-in exemptions. If one person is over the age of 55, you're still allowed to have a younger spouse, a partner, or even an adult child living in the unit. And the child doesn't even have to be an adult. So in this case, they were fully eligible the entire time. They just didn't know it. Once we cleared that up, we got serious, made the offer, and they ended up with a great home in a community they didn't even think that was an option. And here's the thing, this is kind of an important story because it just doesn't affect buyers. Around this time last year, I visited a property in White Rock where the strata was technically listed as a 19+, which sounds restrictive, and it kind of was, but that kind of age bylaw had already been wiped out by provincial legislation. And here's the kicker. The strata hadn't filed any official bylaw updates with the Land Titles Office since the building was created in the late 70s. Which meant every single change they had ever voted on, legally unenforceable. So I was helping somebody sell this particular condo unit in White Rock, and once I figured that out and discovered it, I called the seller immediately. We decided to list the property a lot higher than we originally had anticipated. This time it was actually $50,000 more, and we adjusted the marketing to speak to a wider audience. We weren't limited to just people who were over the age of 19, and we weren't limited to adults even. We could sell it to absolutely anybody, and people with young children could live there no problem. So within a few days, we got a full price offer. Same home, same building, just a different understanding of what was actually allowed. And the strata, well, they were a little bit up in arms about it because even they didn't understand the changes and how it impacted their building. The point of this is when you know the real rules, it changes absolutely everything. Now, here's another one that's caused a lot of confusion lately, and it seems simple until you actually try and act on it. I've worked with buyers who have made the comment and said, we'll just add a charger for our electric car to our next next condo or townhouse. Easy, right? Or owners who've been told that's not possible. This building isn't wired for that. But here's the thing. You can't make plans based on what used to be true because the rules around this have changed and they've changed quickly. In the past, trying to get approval for electric vehicle charging could be a nightmare. It often took a 3/4 vote of all of the owners, which is really hard to get, as you can imagine, and most people gave up well before they even got started. But in 2023, the province stepped in and made some major updates. Strata corporations are now required to respond to an EV charging request within 3 months, and many decisions that used to require a 3/4 vote, now they just simply need a simple majority. Even more importantly, stratas are being told to plan ahead. Any building with 5 or more units will soon be required to complete an electrical capacity report. That's going to show what their system can handle and what kind of upgrades might be needed to allow for things like heat pumps and electric vehicle charging. And this part really matters. The province isn't just laying out what needs to happen, they're giving stratas a clear process for how to do it. There are formal steps now, guidelines to responding to EV charging requests, getting assessments done, and actually determining what's possible. So if you're hearing things like it's too complicated or we're not set up for that, it's worth asking, have they followed the new process? Now, that said, here's a quick tip for somebody that maybe has an electric vehicle or even sellers living in a strata complex that doesn't allow for electric vehicle charging just yet. For someone buying a home, older properties are still struggling with this. A lot of them just don't have the electrical infrastructure to support individual chargers for everyone in the complex. That doesn't mean that they're a bad option, but it does mean that you have to ask the right questions up front. And that's where a professional who knows the buildings, knows what they can look for, can save you a lot of time and frustration. Because the truth is, there is a future coming where buyers will flat out refuse to buy in a complex that doesn't support EV charging. And honestly, I'm actually seeing this all the time right now. It's one of the first questions many buyers ask me. So a takeaway for that as well is for people living in a strata that doesn't allow for EV charging, you better get on top of it because it is the way of the future and you might find yourself having a lot of challenges selling down the road and at a big disadvantage. Before we get into the third big change, a quick heads up. If you're planning to buy a home this year, there's actually free money available. We're talking about municipal, provincial, and federal incentives, whether you're buying, renovating, or just trying to tap into programs that most people don't even know exist. We've pulled together everything that we could find, links, quick summaries, and key details all in one place. So you can make sure you're not leaving any money on the table. You'll find the link for that download in the description below this video. It's totally free, super easy to use, and definitely worth checking out. All right, back to the video. And the last major misconception that I want to hit is the one that quietly shuts down a ton of options, and that's around rentals. This comes up with newer buyers all the time. I've had people skip over entire listings because they thought they wouldn't be able to rent the unit out in the future, and that used to be true. Strata buildings could limit rentals, cap the number of units being rented at once, or ban them like flat outright entirely. If you wanted flexibility, you just had to look elsewhere, but that's not the case anymore. As of November 2022, strata corporations in BC cannot restrict residential rentals. Full stop. Any bylaw that used to ban or limit rentals, it's now invalid. And strata boards can't vote to bring it back. The only thing that they can still regulate is short-term rentals like Airbnb, but long-term rentals are now completely allowed. That changes the game for a lot of people. If you're buying now and planning to live there, but might rent it out in the future, this opens up your options. If you're buying for a family member but want flexibility later, same thing. And if you're selling, this makes your property more appealing to a broader group of buyers than it was just a couple years ago. The biggest risk here isn't breaking a rule. It's misunderstanding what the rules actually are and missing out on a property that would have been perfect. So here's the bottom line. Understanding these changes isn't just helpful, it's strategic. Whether you're buying your first strata property or you've owned in one for many years, these updates affect what you're allowed to do, what your home is worth, and how much flexibility you really have. And the truth is, a lot of people, including some real estate professionals, are still operating off assumptions that are completely outdated. The government keeps making changes to improve how stratas function, and while that's a good thing, it also means the rules are shifting faster than most people can keep up with. Staying on top of it is key, and if you're not tracking every detail, it's pretty easy to miss something that could seriously impact your next move. Of course, that's why working with someone that actually knows Strata and stays up to date matters. It's not just about protecting you from mistakes, it's about uncovering options and advantages you might have never known even existed. And speaking of what most people miss, in the next video, I'm breaking down the most important steps to buying a home this year. Not the usual checklist stuff either. I'm talking about the stuff that buyers keep getting wrong and seriously regret later on. So if a move might be on your radar, you do not want to miss this one. And the good news is it's coming up right now.
Buying a home in 2026, there are 6 things that you have to get right or this market will eat you alive. I'm talking about deals collapsing, deposits lost, financing falling apart at the last minute, or finding out way too late that you can't actually afford the home that you thought you could.